I've been out to talk to a Rotary breakfast club about whiskey as the spirit of Christmas. So before I put the bottles away, I'm going to share them with you. My first whiskey was a Singleton, the spirit of Speyside or Spey Cascade. I chose this because there's a village near us called Singleton. It's a very light, fruity whiskey and it's brilliant for those who perhaps aren't whiskey aficionados. It'll go with anything from curried parsnip soup right through to a chicken and ham pie. Singleton is on the Goodwood estate and that is owned by the Duke of Richmond and Gordon. And it's the Gordon bit, there's the bus going off to Goodwood as it happens. The Gordon bit is really important because the Duke of Gordon introduced or was very involved in introducing the Excise Act in 1828, which really laid the foundation for the modern Scotch whisky industry. So I reckon that makes it local food and drink, even to a girl in Sussex. So that's the Singleton Spey Cascade. Now in 1828, when the Excise Act legislated for legal Scotch whisky distillation, the Springbank distillery was established in Campbelltown. This is my favourite, the Springbank 15-year-old. It's a lightly peated whisky and everything that happens in this distillery happens pretty much as it did in 1828. Same equipment, same methods, same traditions. And they are really keen on employing as many people in their plant as they possibly can, so things are done by hand in a good old-fashioned way. The whisky itself is light and beguiling. The smoke is just there in the back, and if you want to know more about this one, there is a tasting video on my YouTube site. So that's the Springbank 15-year-old from a distillery established at the very start of the modern Scotch whisky industry, and it's full of tradition. My next whisky is this Isle of Skye whisky from Ian MacLeod Distillers. Now they're a really interesting small company. They're single malts at Glengoyne and Tamdhu, but they do produce some fabulous blends. And this Isle of Skye is 8-year-old, so it's kind of echoing the movement towards slightly younger age statement whiskies. But what I like about this is that it's got some guts. It's not overly robust, it's just got a hint of the sort of the Skye characteristics, but it's sold in aid of the Mountain Rescue. I've just got to say what they actually say. The Scottish Mountain Rescue. And you know, these days we go out with our mobile phones, we think if we get stuck we'll be okay. What happens when you're up a mountain? No signal. So voluntary donations keeping these rescue companies going are really, really important, and I think it's wonderful that Ian MacLeod do this. It not only is it a great whisky, again a good introduction to West Coast attitudinal whiskies. Will that phrase catch on? I don't know, let's wait and see. But it's also competitively priced and it's doing good. So there's the Isle of Skye. Now the Classic Laddie is another really interesting choice for a gift. This is an Islay whisky from Bruichladdich, which is a distillery that's recently, well fairly recently, come out of mothballs, but they are really progressive and they are pushing the boundaries of distillation. As you can see from the bottle, my whisky women think this looks like bubble bath, but get over the colour and get inside the bottle because the whisky is fantastic. Islay whiskies are traditionally really strongly peated. This is unpeated, but there is a smokiness about it. It's a multi-layered, challenging whisky, but perhaps it's complex rather than challenging. It's a delicious flavour, very different from the classic Islay. And what I love about Bruichladdich is that they are building farmer relationships or supplier relationships with their farmers, so that whatever the weather, they will take the grain and use it. And this is really, really important in farming. So I love what they're doing. They're a distillery that really says that terroir matters, and I believe it does, whether you're in the food or the drink industry. So this is a very different Islay whisky, the Classic Laddie from Bruichladdich, and it's certainly one to look out for to give as a gift this Christmas. Well, we've been on the west coast quite a bit, so now we're going back to Speyside, and anything from Glendronach is really going to delight. They're a newly established distillery company or group, using distilleries which have previously been mothballed. They're bringing them out, they're going into production again, and gosh, they're doing it well. They're really big on sherry cask maturation, which has been so on trend this year, and the whiskies are all really rich and deep in flavour, very fruity. Little bit of spice, definite follow through. This 12-year-old is absolutely delicious and was a gold medal winner in the International Wines and Spirits competition this year. They do an 8-year-old, which is a little bit lighter, and their 15-year-old, the Revival, is fantastic. Once you get up to 21-year-old in Parliament, well, you really start to be in for a treat. But if you want to discover modern Speyside whiskies that are really full of flavour and attitude, you'll really go for Glendronach and you will be absolutely delighted. Mince pie whiskey, you bet it is. Not in your mincemeat, but just to go with it, and with so many other things as well. Cheeses, salamis, fantastic, wonderful whiskey. And my final whiskey from my Spirit of Christmas collection is the one from the Lakes Distillery. Now, we're making this in December 2015, just a few days after flooding decimated the north of England. The Lakes Distillery has been open for just a year, and they are producing this wonderful blended whiskey. They're producing gin and vodka as well. And this year, to celebrate their first birthday, they've done a special release or a special expression of this, the one blended whiskey matured in sherry casks, and you can get that online from their website. Now, the one is absolutely beguiling. It's quite an easy whiskey to drink. It's lightly coloured, which suggests that it's been in bourbon casks, and as indeed it has. And it is a blended whiskey because the malt that they're distilling is not going to be ready for several years yet. So in this blend there are malt whiskies from England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, and hence the one as in our United Kingdom. That's what we are, a United Kingdom. It was a silver medal winner in the International Wines and Spirits competition. It is quite lightly smoked, so with Christmas cold meats it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It really picks up the flavours in things that are quite delicate, like turkey, especially if you're a turkey breast person, because there's not a lot of flavour in that. And this will be perfect with it, but also duck and things of that nature. It's absolutely wonderful with it. But this year the distillery's had 75,000 visitors, and it employs over 70 local people. And what we can do to help the people of the Lake District and the north of England is to keep supporting their businesses. So whether you order some Grasmere gingerbread or get some of their whiskey, you'll really be helping them, because what people need is not only income for the area, but they need to know that their jobs are secure. And the Lakes Distillery is certainly making a terrific difference in the area around Bassenthwaite, where it's situated. So it's doing good, but it's also an absolutely cracking whiskey. All the whiskies I've talked about are available online, and I always suggest that people check out the Whisky Exchange. Look in your local wine and spirit shops as well. This one certainly is available nationwide in Majestic, but you'll really be making a difference to an area that needs your help if you buy this whiskey. But any of my suggestions are just going to be that little bit different, and hopefully will help you to start exploring a magical world of whiskey this Christmas. So treat yourself or treat your friends, one or the other. But whiskey is for sharing, and I've enjoyed sharing my ideas with you.